It's not a pro machine. It's just not. Hey everybody, it's Roberto. So while I was at Adobe Max, I actually got to check out the new MacBook Pro for 2016. Pro, that's being very generous. Anyway, I did get to check out the new MacBook Pro with Touchbar, and I was underwhelmed. The price and the entry into the Mac Pro ecosystem is now more expensive by a few $100. On top of that, they've eliminated the major things that pros look for outside of just the specs from a usability standpoint for no good reason. You guys have already heard a lot of this before. They've eliminated traditional USB ports and we're getting USB-C, or as they like to call it, Thunderbolt 3. So we're getting that. How about instead of throwing us into the middle of the pool, you let us wade in, at our leisure? How about you give me 2 USB-C ports and you give me 2 USB 3.1 ports so that I can still use all of the devices that I actually have right now, since there's almost nothing that uses USB-C right now in the first place that pros have and use on a regular basis. How about that? How about all of us who have these really expensive $1,000 plus cameras that rely on SD card slots? How about you leave the SD card slot in there so that we can actually just take our footage and load it up directly into the computer intuitively and simply, since that's what you say you're all the time about, oh, you're simple, you're easy to lose, you don't have to think about it. How about you do that instead of making us buy yet another accessory? How about that, Apple? That would be a pro thing to keep in mind, because the people who spend the most on your machines, who are they? They are photographers, they are video producers and filmmakers. We use USB-based devices and we use SD cards. You took those things away from us. What are you thinking? Now, if you're a graphic designer or a digital artist, almost none of this bothers you. You probably don't care. Unless you're using a Wacom tablet or an equivalent of that, which doesn't use USB-C at all yet, and you will still have to pay for a dongle to connect to this thing. More dongle hell. Great, Apple. Thank you so much for that. Look, I'm not bashing Apple just to bash Apple. I have a very, very favorable review of the very cool but overpriced Apple Watch Series 2 coming out soon that you guys can enjoy. So all the Apple fanboys and all the Apple fangirls, you can geek out with me over that, because I actually do think this is pretty cool. Let's take this a little bit further. We've got, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4 iPhones. Talk about loyalty. We've got the iPad Air 2. A lot of you know I've got an iMac over at the standing desk, and I used to have a Mac Pro Tower, before they removed options and upgradability. And this, well, this is my younger brother's 2015 MacBook Pro, but I figured I'd just throw in one more extra Apple prop because I'm not going to be putting up a whole ton of footage here. In fact, my Touchbar footage, that didn't work out and it's unusable. So, I have to show something here for all the Apple fans. I'm not going to do a glorified commercial for Apple, but here you go. Enjoy some nice product shots of a MacBook here, because I know that's what you guys come here for, right? I'm not hating on Apple or Apple fanboys. I'm just disappointed. I just feel like Vader. I'm like, you disappointed me for the last time. I feel like, I'm in a bad, abusive relationship with Apple where they're in it for the money at this point. I feel like they've abandoned the pro market. I feel like they've abandoned creators. Like, what do we do? They're the most profitable brand in the world. And what do they do to photographers? They kill off Aperture, not leaving you a very viable alternative to Adobe Lightroom, which I love Adobe Lightroom. But I think that competition is healthy and that Aperture was a great and viable product to just have there. And boom, they got rid of that for really no reason. And they got rid of it without any real justifiable reason, at least from my point of view, for doing that, knowing that a large portion of their market is photographers. Final Cut Pro, well, it finally got an update, but Final Cut Pro still doesn't do 360 video, and there are a lot of people getting into that. It still doesn't have virtual reality features. Even though it does render faster than Premiere Pro, there are a lot of limitations on it. And from a workflow standpoint, in my mind, if you're doing more complex editing, then ultimately the savings in render time aren't made up by the savings in actually doing video editing. But if you actually really want a great comprehensive review of, you want specs, you don't want to hear me whining and ranting, you want specs, you want a breakdown of everything the new MacBook Pro with Touchbar does, then definitely check out Jonathan Morrison's review over at TLD Today. I've got that linked up here in an annotation and in the description below. He does a fantastic job with that stuff, and I'm not going to say that the new MacBook Pro doesn't have some virtues. It does have a faster processor. Unfortunately, because they're not moving the DDR4 RAM yet, that will probably happen next year. It means that in this year's model, you still have 16 gigs of RAM. It's still, dated RAM. It's still DDR3. And I just feel like it's time for us to be able to move on. The Pro market is doing so much stuff that's more intensive. And there are people who say, well, what do you need 32 gigs of RAM for? If you're a 3D artist or you want to take advantage of some of the most powerful things out there like Maya and Poser, and you want to do crazy complex animations, you want to do that stuff, you want to do Adobe After Effects, you want to do crazy rotoscoping stuff, more RAM is actually helpful. It makes a huge difference. Instead of much more powerful specs, instead of like really innovative features, we lost core features that we rely on as professional users, and instead we got a gimmicky touch bar for an extra $200 instead of an actual touchscreen interface that can do something cool, or the ability to actually use the Apple Pencil on the screen and be able to go ahead and take that from the iPad Pro and be able to use that effectively. I would love to just be able to use the Apple Pencil across all my devices. I still couldn't use that if I have the iPhone 7. I can't use it on, I can't use the Apple Pencil with it. I can't use it on any other device. I can't use it on the iPad minis, the new generation of those. I can't do anything with it except use it with the iPad Pro. And then there's no way to actually use it now on the new MacBook Pro. So it's just really limiting, and it's really frustrating. Why do we have to pay more, and in some ways we're getting less, and the spec updates are incremental or are not going to be a huge performance difference for us? I would actually say that instead of buying a 2016 MacBook Pro, you are better off buying at a lower rate the 2015 MacBook Pro. I just really honestly believe that. Go out and buy a 15 or 13-inch 2015 MacBook Pro if you don't own a Mac. And that's my opinion on this, because I just really feel that with eliminating a great innovative idea like Magsafe, so that when you trip over the cord, it just, flies right out of the computer. It doesn't drag it down to the floor. It doesn't destroy your laptop. That was a really great and innovative thing that Apple did quite a while ago, and introducing that, I think, was revolutionary. That was a step in the right direction. We've lost that innovation, and we all know why we've lost that innovation. It's because we lost Steve Jobs. I'm not going to sit here and tell you he was the greatest human being to walk the earth. But in terms of visionary leadership in, the IT world when it comes to electronics and personal computers and all these devices that let creatives do their thing, I think he really had something that is missing from the soul of today's Apple. And as a creator, it's becoming harder and harder to justify being in the Apple ecosystem when the competition is stepping things up. You guys know I did a hands-on review of the Microsoft Surface Studio. That thing is amazing, and the Surface Book product line has really stepped it up, and they are coming for blood. And today, if I had to choose between the 2016 MacBook Pro and a Microsoft Surface Book, I'd be getting the new i7 Microsoft Surface Book, hands down, without a second thought. I prefer editing in Adobe Premiere Pro. I think that the ability to use the entire Creative Cloud suite is an advantage over using, Final Cut Pro and what it offers. I just think it's a better workflow, especially as you grow and you scale. Final Cut Pro is amazing for simple edits, or if you're a YouTube tech reviewer or you're a vlogger, it's more than good enough. But I think long term, Premiere Pro is where it's at. So you can use it on either system. And with that being the case, I kind of would rather just start moving everything over to the Windows environment altogether. And with Apple, I'm just going to use them for the mobile devices and accessories like the Apple Watch. I'm done with Apple until they get their act together. As far as desktop and laptop computers, I'm pretty much done with them. The Touch Bar is a gimmick, and it's costing you an extra 200 bones. We got dongle hell instead of practical, half and half it. USB-C or Thunderbolt 3, whatever you want to call it, and USB 3.0, just half and half it, and that would have been great. Leave the bloody SD card slot alone. And why did they do these things? Oh, and you know what else they took away? They took away one of the coolest features of Apple. when you power on an Apple laptop, it's really satisfying to have that glowing Apple logo. Yeah, on some level that's its own little gimmick, but it is a cool one. Eliminating cool stuff, eliminating innovative stuff, eliminating useful stuff just to make the laptop thinner is stupid. And I can't justify the expense anymore. So, Apple kind of let us all down on this one. And for me, the worst part is that I was waiting to do a lot of my 2016 laptop guides for the new MacBook Pro 2016 to come out. And they kind of wasted my time. We were all on pins and needles about how great and exciting this new thing was going to be, and it's a total letdown. It's a total wash. There's a reason why most people are giving it, these scathing reviews, is because it's just not a practical machine for pros to actually use anymore. I mean, it looks cool. It feels cool. It's super thin, if that's your thing. I just don't think it's a pro machine. Anyway, that's it, you guys. I know that I'm going to get a ton of dislikes from all the Apple fanboys and fangirls, but look, here's the reality. It's not like I'm not an Apple fan. I'm just not a fan of this particular product because it sucks, in my opinion. It could have been better. It could have catered to people like me, who are the majority of the buying market for this kind of product, that spend that kind of money because we shoot video and we edit photos and we do that kind of thing. So I feel like it's a letdown. I feel like if you're a photographer or filmmaker, skip this one. 2017, they got another shot. Anyway, love to know what you guys think in the comments. I know some of it's going to be horrible, so I'll just brace myself for that. Like this video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. Check out the other awesome content on the channel. Don't forget to tune in. I will have a review of the Apple Watch Series 2 and what a month of using that has been like. I also will be doing a video on all the reasons comparing the 2015 MacBook Pro to the 2016 MacBook Pro, so you'll want to stay tuned for that. As always, guys, thanks so much for watching and geeking out with me over the scathing review that I've done here of the 2016 MacBook Pro. Take care.